I'm Priscilla Kandel, here to share my love of the arts with you. For years, I've taught piano, sung at theme parks and special events, composed music for children, and produced and performed in live shows, television, and films. On this show, I'll be sharing various artists and types of art. Welcome to The Arts and You. As a performer and teacher, I'm always studying and appreciating raw talent and high achievers. Not all talent is on TV or on the big stages. Many talented people just never got that big break. Sometimes they're in your own neighborhood, looking like an ordinary anybody. Our next talent recently caught my eye, and I hope you are as happy to discover him as I am. Let's meet Brian Bittker, playing in the comfort of his own home.
It had to be you. It had to be you. I wandered around and finally found us somebody who make me be true. You make me be blue and even be glad just to be sad. Thinking of you. It had to be you.
Hi, Brian. Tell us how long you've been singing and how you got started.
I've been singing as far back as I can remember. First memory is my mother had me in a community variety show in which I sang "Take Me to the Church on Time" from My Fair Lady. And from there on, I was exposed to all kinds of music, from Motown to musical theater, sang in shows, sang in bands along the way, and just gravitated towards the jazz standards and the Great American Songbook, and been singing that material for years.
Well, that accounts for your great style. You also have such a wonderful voice. Did you study voice, or are you one of those natural-born singers?
Thank you. Oh, no, I appreciate that. But I did have vocal lessons over the years, and I took them very, very seriously. I had some great teachers and coaches along the way, just fantastic. And but I attribute the fact that I do have that big sound when I need it to the fact that I stuck with my vocal exercises, and I did them day in and day out. And that commitment really paid off. You know, besides practicing songs and learning tunes and all, the exercises are vital. But I remember every chance I had, I did it. I literally drove my cousin absolutely crazy on a backpacking trip that we took to Europe after college. In that at all times during the day, I'm doing vocal exercises and vocal eases constantly, and we could be visiting the Eiffel Tower in Europe, the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and there I am doing my vocal exercises. So I think that's why he never traveled with me again, quite frankly, I think, but that's not true. But anyway, yeah, I've been sticking with those exercises, and I love my lessons, yeah.
Sounds like your mother encouraged your music. Did she have to push you to practice the piano, though?
Well, early on, I remember that I would hear her play classical music a lot in the house, and I kind of developed my own interest, and so I started taking some lessons as a child, and I remember I wasn't as dedicated until years later when I started singing, and that I came back to it, and I wanted it again as that accompaniment instrument, right? As I mentioned. So at the beginning, I had to get pushed a bit, but then not at all. I loved it so, and every chance I had, I sat down and I started learning my tunes to support my vocals. So it is my secondary instrument, and an instrument that I love dearly, yeah.
I know what you mean. Nobody ever pushed me to practice either. I just loved it so much, I wanted to do it. Now, I notice you're playing without music. Are you memorizing all your songs, or do you play by ear?
I memorize material, yeah. Basically, that comes from my singing, that You memorize everything as a vocalist, and I treated piano in a similar fashion, that I wanted to just be able to memorize all my tunes that I do. And it was a situation. I was around the piano a lot growing up, and what it became for me was my accompaniment instrument, so that I could back up my vocals. And I worked extremely hard to be able to accomplish that, right? And so that's why you basically see it basically memorized. I don't like to look at anything.
I hear a big city voice there. Have you lived anywhere besides LA?
Big city sound, huh? Yeah. I've lived in mostly big cities, and I've sung in all of them. So, but yeah, as a kid, I grew up in the suburbs of Detroit, Michigan, and from there moved down to Miami, Florida. I was down there for a number of years. Lived in Denver, Colorado, and after Denver, basically came back to Miami for a bit, then came out to Los Angeles for many years, and then moved east for a while. I lived in New York City and in a couple other towns in the tri-state area, in Jersey and Connecticut, and back here in Los Angeles. So here's where I am now, and I just love being back here.
That's a lot of moving around. Tell us where some of the venues are that you've performed at.
I have been extremely lucky over the years to have played from coast to coast, from here in Los Angeles all the way out to New York, places in between. And covering the material that I cover, I get to play the casual circuit. And those are a lot of private parties with the bands and orchestras that I play with. And that gets you to play private homes, to main ballrooms, to large theaters, you name it, small clubs, everything you can think of. And I love them all. I love all the venues. And, these bands and orchestras out here in Los Angeles over the years, I've had the great fortune to have worked at some of these great hotels, like the Beverly Wilshire and the Beverly Hilton and the Century Plaza and Casa del Mar and Westin Bonaventure, Intercontinental, so many. And it has been a thrill, really, to be able to play all these places with the various musicians that I've had the honor to play with.
What were some of those bands you performed with?
It started off with the smaller combos and things, singing pop and rock. And never forget my band in college, County Line Rock Band. And we were just covering all the pop and rock tunes of the day. And then after that, I found my way into these jazz bands and these jazz orchestras, as that became the music I wanted to perform. And I have performed in everything from a duo with just two of us, me singing with another instrumentalist or playing some piano and singing with another instrumentalist, to a 40-piece concert band a few years ago.
What would you say is your most memorable experience performing?
I would say there was one some years ago, Priscilla, that I was able to get involved in a musical variety show called Prohibition Swing. And it was on the music of the 20s and 30s. And it was done here locally in the Los Feliz area. It started there in a great room that's no longer here, I don't think. It was called the New York Company Bar and Grill. And the show was so successful that we were able to open for other acts. We opened for Jan Murray, the comic, the great comic from years ago, Anna Maria Alberghetti, the amazing vocalist, the impressionist Danny Gantz, who was absolutely incredible and left us way too soon. And we were able to do those shows, and it was really something. But the musical director of that show was so tapped in, he was able to get me into a gig in Indian Wells, down at Indian Wells Country Club in Palm Springs, where I was singing with a few other singers, and we were doing a Christmas show, a benefit there. And lo and behold, who was hosting it? Bob Hope. And I was able to not only sing with Bob Hope there and these other singers, but I was able to get to meet him and talk to him a bit. So I would say, Priscilla, that was extremely memorable.
Well, most entertainers and people away from their regular jobs are finding new interest. What about you?
Well, my wife Janice and I love our puppy Capri. She is the love of our life, and we spend a lot of time with her. So we just love having those moments with our dog. I love the outdoors. I go out as much as I can. I take my walks, I jog, I hike, I just get out as much as possible. I love taking drives in the car. And then overall, the arts, I just love the arts so much. And I go to events and concerts and museums and you name it, anything that has to do with the arts. And I find myself just wanting to always go to those things. And last I'll say is, sports. Love football especially and hockey. Grew up watching those sports a ton. And then reading and keeping up with current events.
Is there any advice you'd like to give any aspiring musicians and singers out there?
Take it really seriously. Love what you do. Just love it, okay? And treat that instrument with respect and take very good care of it. And practice, 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 rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. There is nothing like rehearsal and getting those tunes down so that they become second nature and you can do them at the drop of a hat.
You have so much talent to offer. When group events start picking up, how can people contact you for bookings?
Oh, thank you, Priscilla. Thanks so much. Yeah, the best way to contact me would be to go to my website, and that's brianbitkervocalist.com. Again, that's brianbitkervocalist.com. And all my information is up there, all my contact information, so feel free to get in touch with me at any time and we can discuss your needs. Thank you.
Thank you for being my guest, Brian. We're going to close this interview with another sample of Brian Bittker at the piano.
Here's a little snippet of an original called When Does It End? When does it end? When will I realize it finally stops hurting this deep down inside? Can't be far away, so I sit here and pray that you're my answer to my lonely, lonely heart.
Be sure to join us on our next show with more arts and artists on the arts and you.